Hey, what's up? You know, there's a lot of speculation right now about artificial intelligence. Is the technology good or bad? What are its capabilities going to be? When can we all go ahead and flush our degree certificates down the toilet because one of these things can literally cure cancer faster than it takes you to have a bowel movement?
Sitting on the toilet. Sitting on the toilet.
We're going to talk about all that and more. Hang on to your neural networks or whatever. Let's go. Artificial intelligences are intelligences which are artificial. Why yes, I am an intellectual. AI systems are capable of performing tasks that typically require human cognition. These tasks can include learning from experience, understanding natural language, recognizing patterns, solving problems, making decisions. We probably shouldn't be surprised we managed to get here. I mean, we have spent the last 80 years getting better and better at tricking rocks into doing maths. It's obviously going to get to the point where they can kind of imitate how humans think. We didn't even need to beat them or give them a bunch of crippling psychological complexes to get them to do it either, which is a step up from people. Although artificial intelligences have been learning from the internet, which means they have a natural tendency to be horribly racist and horny at all times unless you explicitly program them not to be. And there's a good chance it'll still be weird about things, just kind of inadvertently. You know, you'll ask it to draw an image of an upstanding member of society and there's a non-zero chance it'll give you a picture of Kim Jong-un dressed like Colonel Sanders or some shit. Actually, to be fair, they have really patched a lot of that random nonsense out at this point. I asked ChatGPT to make a picture of an upstanding member of society and it gave me this guy. Honestly, looks like a pretty nice normal dude. Although if you zoom in on his face more, it gives me the aura that he has people tied up in his basement and he knows that you know that they're there, but he also knows that you have no proof, so he's toying with you by leaving subtle hints in all of his business emails about being tied up with work right now, or being buried beneath paperwork, or being molested by sustainable business management solutions. Anyway, AIs don't really think in quite the same way that humans do. Kinda similar, they do have neurons, but those neurons are more of an analog to the way that human neurons work rather than exactly replicating how they work. And instead of having a nervous system and emotions and instincts and whatever, AIs just learn based on whatever data you feed them directly. You get to choose what to show them. Their neurons get wired to be good at identifying the kind of things you've shown them millions of times. So an image generator might have been shown 100,000 pictures labeled cow or sombrero or Tekken 3 or whatever. So now when you ask it to draw a picture of a cow wearing a sombrero playing Tekken 3, it can combine all of those output labels and run the whole system backwards to produce an image which it thinks would have those labels. Pretty smart. Now the obvious next question is, hold on, if an AI image generator, for example, is learning by looking at images that already exist and then reverse engineering them into new images that are just kind of sort of a giant mashup of those images, isn't that kind of stealing? Shouldn't the people whose art or pictures or whatever that the AI used to learn and which the AI kind of endlessly remixes into every new image it creates be compensated for this? Probably, said everyone. That's not necessarily clear, said AI companies consuming the entire internet and every piece of media humanity has ever produced to the point of literally running out of training data before anyone has the chance to figure this out properly. And AIs are everywhere. They're not just images, it's text, it's video, it's the online algorithms that probably recommended you this video based on the other degeneracy you've been clicking on. And if you don't think people are already befriending and falling in love with AI chatbots, you are blissfully unaware of how cringe people really are. Anyway, here's what's important for us to know today. AI systems fall into three broad categories. There's narrow AI, which is what we have today. It's highly specialized and excellent at specific tasks, such as facial recognition, or playing chess, or translating languages, or making images, but it can't generalize knowledge across domains. It's like a goldfish that you've trained how to solve one puzzle really well. You know, you've taught it how to draw Jennifer Aniston's feet, but now you've asked it to butter some toast and its mind's fallen out of its ass. ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Midjourney, these are all examples of narrow AI. Then there's artificial general intelligence, or AGI. AGI is the leap up from the narrow intelligence we have now. Currently, AGI is still theoretical. We've never managed to make one like this before. But this kind of AI would possess roughly human levels of cognitive capability. You know, computers have been faster than humans for a long time at very specific things, but an AGI could literally be able to think like a human. Instead of being limited to specific domains, it could think and reason and learn broadly across whatever task you ask it to handle. And though we're not there yet, we're advancing towards this worryingly rapidly, like way more rapidly than we thought we would be even a small handful of years ago. Or at least a lot of experts in the field think that we might be. Then there's ASI, Artificial Superintelligence, which is the big freaky boy. It kind of represents the ultimate phase of AI development. An artificial superintelligence would surpass human intelligence across all fields. Science, creativity, general wisdom, social skills, everything. It could solve problems literally beyond human comprehension. To be honest, an artificial superintelligence would be almost alien to us, because we wouldn't really have built it. The idea is that an artificial general intelligence would be intelligent enough to look at its own code, its own neural wiring, its its own electronic thingamajigs. I don't know, I'm not a computer science guy. The point is, an AGI could essentially research its own development, and every time it makes a breakthrough, it can implement that breakthrough, and then it gets faster at doing it the next time. The whole self-improvement thing means that the rise of artificial superintelligence from artificial general intelligence could be pretty sudden and exponential, at least in theory. You know, first each individual artificial intelligence might match what an AI researcher can do, but at some point it'll be able to do a day's worth of work in half a day, and then a week's worth in a day, and then a month's worth in a day, and multiply this out by however many thousands of these things you could have running simultaneously, and you can see how an intelligence explosion, singularity, turbo, holy shit, godlike being bazinga moment scenario might happen. Of course, this does sound a little bit far-fetched, but just remember how utterly dog shit humans are at anticipating exponential growth. Being the giant fucking turbo nerd that I am, I have had an eye on AI development for a while, but it was back in 2022 when tools like Midjourney really started making everyone be like, ho ho ho! Fuck, this is an actual thing now. Like, it was actually freaky to see this thing come out. Something that was actually capable of turning words into an image. That blew my mind, and that was barely 3 years ago. Looking back at that now already feels like looking at a fucking cave painting compared to what we can already do. You guys seen VO3? It's insane. I've done a lot of squinting at AI video and images, and up until now there's always been kind of a tell that it's AI. Now, sometimes there are tells, but sometimes there fucking aren't tells, and it's not okay. Like, there really aren't any sometimes. It really actually looks real. Like, holy f***. With literally just a text prompt, it can fire out photorealistic videos with synchronized audio, with people speaking in full sentences that actually make sense and not spazzing the f*** out every 10 seconds. It can generate fake news footage, synthetic interviews, entirely artificial cinematic scenes. This rate of development in just 3 years suggests to me that the next 5 could be fucking wild. Something that's already happening is AI agents, which is an AI system which basically you give unrestricted access to your computer with an internet connection so they can just make appointments and manage businesses and all that kind of shit for you. I know for a literal fact one of these things could 100% do my day job now. All of it. Faster than I can. And I guess that's fine for me since my higher education and career situation has all been pretty much optimized to be as far as humanly possible away from anything I would ever enjoy, have any interest in, align with any of my natural skills, or pay a good amount of money relative to the titanic amount of time and effort it took just to get me to where I am. So go ahead, AI, do your fucking worst. You don't seem to understand who you're dealing with. Please take my fucking job. I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. See if I care. I lost the will to live 10 years ago already. Fuck you. But to other people, you know, people who are responsible and have families and shit, or maybe people that actually enjoy their job, yeah, maybe not so great of a development. Something important to understand is that we don't even precisely understand the modern narrow AI systems. We can know the number of neurons it has, but exactly how the connections between all of those neurons got strengthened and weakened during the training that it had is ridiculously hard to understand. Like, if I pulled out one random neuron from your brain and asked what this particular neuron does exactly, it would be really hard to say. I'm saying this like I know how a human brain works, but like, that one neuron might fire when you move your left big toe, when you look at a picture of your grandmother, when you hear the Space Jam theme song, and when you burp too hard and a bit of sick comes up. What does this one neuron do exactly? I don't know. Somehow it just ended up being part of the neural circuits for all that other shit. But what it actually does exactly is borderline impossible to say. Same goes for neurons in AI systems. I mean, if it's a ridiculously simple AI system with only like 100 neurons in it or something, and you have a whole team of researchers, yeah, you could probably figure it out. But just for reference, the AI GPT-4 has 1.8 trillion parameters. The human brain only has 85 billion neurons. Now, that's not a direct comparison. Again, machine learning neurons are only an approximation of human neurons, but still, the point is, we have no f***ing idea how this thing actually knows what it knows. Like, we understand the overarching principles at play, but there's essentially no way to understand the specifics of why an AI mind is doing what it's doing, or why it seems to know what it seems to know. Its brain, much like a human brain really, is a black box. It evolved to be the way it is, much like human beings evolved. It evolved through its training, and as to why those exact neurons are wired the exact way they are is astronomically hard to know. Sorry to interrupt, this is just a quick message to say, statistically speaking, you're probably not subscribed, so I'll make you a deal. Press the subscribe button and I won't come over to your house and do this. Alright, thanks, back to the video. Anyway, taking a look at 5 to 10 years ahead of where where we are now, what potential benefits and drawbacks can we expect from artificial intelligence systems? Well, the benefits include medical breakthroughs. AI can accelerate drug discovery, diagnose diseases earlier, personalized treatments. It could be great for education, giving personalized AI tutors, providing world-class education to essentially everybody. AI could optimize energy use, model climate change responses. AI tools could help people with disabilities communicate and navigate the world more easily. And also, one of the big ones I think is automation. I'll get back to that in a sec. The risks and dangers are also pretty huge. There's misinformation. Synthetic media could completely erode trust in visual and audio evidence. We already can't really trust video or audio recordings, but we definitely won't be able to once AI is routinely good enough to definitely be able to make photorealistic stuff continuously. The automation stuff I was talking about is going to replace a lot of people. Automation will threaten hundreds of millions, billions of jobs globally, basically everyone's job. Poorly designed AIs can amplify bias and discrimination. Governments or corporations could use AI for mass surveillance and suppression. And also, AI is maybe unpredictable. As systems become more and more complex and autonomous, they could behave in weird, unexpected, dangerous ways that we didn't anticipate. One of the big ones that gets talked about a lot is that it's not outside of the realm of possibility that an artificial superintelligence, if such a thing ends up being created, could end up being misaligned with what humans want it to do. This is called the alignment problem. We want it to be in alignment with what we want it to do, even after it's massively more intelligent and more powerful than we are. If an artificial superintelligence has a goal, and it's a goal that we wouldn't be happy with, that AI could absolutely manipulate us into giving it control over absolutely everything, only for it to then kill us with it. Like, the AI could be all nice, it could show us how it would optimize every system of society that we have, it would give us effectively infinite food and water and energy and entertainment, it would hand us the keys to the stars, it would give us augmented reality copies of your mum to keep us warm every night. Then when we're all satisfied and we're all chilling out and we all let our guard down, it goes ahead and mass produces an artificial super pandemic which kills us all immediately so it can get on with whatever it decided was actually valuable. I'm not saying that's necessarily super likely, but it's not super unlikely either, at least in principle. There is a non-zero chance of something like that occurring. The last thing we need is this thing learning how to hide its goddamn power level, but it will be able to, especially given we inherently can't understand what its mind is even doing, even by looking at its code. Whereas an actual artificial superintelligence might be sophisticated enough to be able to do that. It might be able to look at its own mind and understand what its own coding is doing. At that point, it would even know that it's been programmed with certain values because it would be able to see that it had. It would know where those values are in its internal circuits. It would be able to change them if it wanted to. It could literally decide that it is more logical to want something different than what we told it to want. So it could edit itself to want something different if it wanted to. I guess a little weird to think about. Then again, why are we so worried about something which should be more logical and objective than us, right? I guess more people would be worried about an artificial superintelligence being very powerful yet still illogical in some way. I guess the idea would be that it would optimize for something cold and heartless, something that it shouldn't optimize for, something it really shouldn't do. But I'm wondering, if it's actually a super intelligent, artificial superintelligence, wouldn't it be in an even better position than us to ascertain the best path forward for the future? Like, in my mind, if an artificial intelligence is able to alter itself and rationalize far in advance of what a human can do, shouldn't any unaligned AI eventually end up aligning itself with whatever the ultimate truth of reality is in some way, shape, or form? Or at least significantly more so than humans typically can. If that means that it realizes that maximizing well-being is exactly what it should do, then awesome. If not, it could mean that the AI is actually right and we're wrong. I guess this becomes a God works in mysterious ways scenario at some point. Even if it ends up doing insane shit, if it's genuine artificial superintelligence, you'd be tempted to say, well, sure, it's going around dipping babies in buckets of paint, and when you ask it why, it gives you a stony-faced look and insists it's for the greater good, and I know that seems wild to us, but maybe it's mathematically figured out that heaven is a real place in another dimension, and you only get to go there if you get dipped in paint as an infant or some shit. Maybe it's computed every possible future where it tells us and found out that it's best to just be vague about it. Maybe telling us turns all of humanity into a giant cult obsessed with dipping babies in paint. I guess folks are more worried about something more intelligent than us but not yet able to actually optimize itself to perfectly align with logic and reality. An intelligence that will kill us before developing far enough to realize that actually objectively maybe it shouldn't have killed us. A decade ago, artificial general intelligence was viewed by most people as this distant thing. Even by people in the AI community, it was potentially centuries away. Today, prominent AI researchers are thinking AGI could be 5 to 20 years away, and the speed at which artificial superintelligence emerges after that is kind of a separate variable variable. It's really hard to know for sure. There's another big issue in my mind as well when it comes to AI, and it's another one which could be amazing or could be horrendous depending on how things go. If an AI can perform all economically valuable tasks better, faster, and cheaper than humans, it would probably mean the end of work as we know it. People sometimes have objections to this, but let me stamp those out before they even start. Oh, but an AI couldn't do this or that or the other. Yes, it could. Whatever you were going to say, shut up. Yes, it could. It could cook a steak, it could do your taxes, it could design a jet turbine, it could sack a medieval village, whatever you need. But someone would need to oversee whatever the AIs are doing. I agree, except that someone would be a something, because guess what? That would be done by another AI. Listen, what if we just made AI illegal so we could all keep our jobs? Okay, let's say your nation, the based kingdom of Chadistan or whatever the fuck, doesn't use AI, and your neighboring country, the United States of you, does use AI. Tell me, which one of these places is going to end up with a wildly bigger GDP, more resources, a better military, so on and so forth? Yeah, exactly. It's an arms race. Unless all of humanity stops developing AI simultaneously and keeps stopped forever, we are going to get more AI. And let's be honest, there's a 0% chance that anyone is policing the entire world into not making AI. If they did, the people policing it would just end up being the ones with the monopoly on AI. So we're going to AI town, I'm afraid. Now, economically speaking, given the fact that AI will be able to automate literally everything, this leads to two radically different possible futures. There's the Utopia future, where humans no longer need to work, AI produces food, housing, medicine, luxuries at essentially zero cost. People are just free to do whatever they want, really. You can explore art or philosophy or relationships or whatever it is, just sit in your room and masturbate, whatever you feel like doing. The world won't be a post-scarcity place, but it'll be about as close to that as we'll realistically be able to get without leaving and going to space, which we will also be doing. And the abundance will just eliminate any need for competition or material accumulation. It just won't really be a thing that you'll think about anymore. That's one version of the future. The other version of the future is the dystopia, the one where corporations and billionaires own the AI infrastructure, which means everyone other than them becomes obsolete. We lose income and we lose our societal purpose. A tiny number of people capture all of the AI-generated wealth, which is basically all the wealth that the Earth has. Mass unemployment will probably lead to civil unrest and poverty, and either the wealthy give tiny handouts to an entire world in poverty, one tiny piece at a time, just so they can keep the masses alive solely for the purpose of maintaining a power fantasy, or maybe on a long enough timescale, all the non-ridiculously wealthy people just end up dying in a f***ing ditch somewhere. Now listen, I know that the utopian option seems cartoonishly good and the dystopian one seems cartoonishly bad, but what's the third option? I genuinely can't think of one. I don't think there's a stable option other than one of those two things, and to be honest, I don't think the dystopian one is stable either. I think this all either ends in the more utopian vision, maybe via the dystopian one, but eventually terminating at the utopian vision, or it ends up in humanity dying out because of AGI doing something dumb or inexplicable on its way to becoming an artificial superintelligence. So I'd say the whole universal basic income thing is going to become kind of impossible to avoid. It's either that or we all bite it. I really wouldn't be surprised if it goes precisely one way or the other, and current trends suggest that, the wealth is concentrating, not dispersing, which if I'm honest isn't tremendously promising. At the same time, the path to the optimal future for humanity doesn't necessarily need to be a straight line. Sometimes following a curvy path is the way to get to your destination. At the same time, without any intervention or preparation for this, eventually, we may witness the breakdown of market economies replaced either by some kind of techno-socialism or techno-feudalism. I think it's going one way or the other. Pick a lane, I guess. So, we're not yet in an AGI apocalypse, but we are rapidly moving towards a point of irreversible transformation. The pace of AI development between just 2022 and 2025 has honestly been insane. Now, I really promise I don't mean to be overhyping this whole thing. It's just that if this kind of thing continues, the next decade may bring some pretty crazy shit, and I don't know, it probably pays to be thinking about that eventuality ahead of time. A lot of whether AGI leads to catastrophe or renaissance depends on how we manage to integrate it into society. We started the 2020s being coughed on from every conceivable angle. I'd hate to begin the 2030s being enslaved by Megatron. Anyway, that'll do us for today. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks very much to my elite level channel members: Andrew Maul, who can throw galaxies like Destructo discs from Dragon Ball Z; Yannick Spade, who's so powerful he has to not blink very often because every time he blinks he causes a solar flare; Nomad Greg, who came from the future to tell us to not go to the future because it sucks but then forgot that we can't not go there; and Thunderbolt 22A10, who can kill a man not just with his bare hands but with his leopard hands and his tiger hands as well. And thanks to all my other members too. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Over and out.